Secretary General Antonio Guterres is here, and he's joined by Hannah Tete, who is the Secretary General's representative here at the African Union, and by Beats Kiwanis, who is the Special Advisor on Africa. The Secretary General makes some opening remarks, and we'll take a few questions. So.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'm very grateful for your presence. Many see Africa as a continent with problems. We see Africa as a continent of hope and opportunity. Of course, there are many problems in the African continent. There are many unsolved situations. There are many conflicts. We have, as it was said this morning, a very serious problem of refugees and displaced persons. But it is also true that it is in Africa that we are now signals that conflicts can be resolved and that conflicts can be avoided. In the last few months, we've witnessed a meaningful change in South Sudan. After years and years where there was no progress, finally it was possible to bring all the neighbors together. And thanks to IGAD, it was possible to have Salva Kiir and Riek Machar signing an agreement. And even with all the difficulties that we know, things are moving forward. Many would consider Central African Republic like a problem without solution. We are not yet with a full solution, but we had an historic peace agreement that was mediated by the African Union with the support of the UN that brought together the government and 14 armed groups. We see Libya with hope. The ceasefire around Tripoli has been maintained, and we are convinced that it will be possible in the future to have a national conference in which Libyans themselves will be able to come together. We have seen that elections that many considered would lead inevitably to conflict, even civil war, took place sometimes with complaints, but always in the context of the legal and constitutional mechanisms of the countries involved, be it in Mali, be it in the DRC, be it in Madagascar. And so conflict prevention and conflict resolution are working in Africa, and I believe that the combination of efforts of the African Union and the UN has been a very important instrument for it, which means that multilateralism, network multilateralism, is proven to be useful in today's world. On the other hand, Africa is also a continent of opportunity from the development point of view. But for that, it's absolutely essential that the Africans themselves, but the international community supporting them, are able to respond positively to the challenge of the two agendas of the African Union and the UN. The Agenda 2063 of the African Union, aiming at the development of the continent, and the Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Agenda 2030 of the UN, with the so-called Sustainable Development Goals that correspond to a comprehensive program of development that we believe countries would need to launch in order to be able to guarantee that everybody is able to take profit of the improvements that technological progress can provide to humankind. Now, Africa has enormous opportunities for investment. Africa has enormous opportunities for economic growth, but it is necessary that Africa benefits from the solidarity and from the partnership of the international community as a whole. And that is the reason why I have strongly appealed for an increase in development cooperation with the African continent, and at the same time, taking into account that one of the key components of the challenges that we face today in development is climate change. That is why I once again said that climate change is running faster than we are, that climate change is the defining issue of our time, is the biggest threat for humankind and for the planet, and that it's absolutely essential to increase ambition in mitigation of emissions, in adaptation of countries to the consequences already inevitable, but also in financing, especially in financing of the developing world and in innovation, in order to be able to contain this monster that is growing and threatening us all. So I think that what I could witness in this summit of the African Union, first of all, was how deep is the cooperation between the UN and the African Union today, but second, how committed the African Union is to make sure that the hope and opportunity that Africa represents today are fully transformed into reality.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, thank you. This is Mariam from Mali, the United Mission Radio, Mikado. My question is about the speech you made at the opening. You talk about this international solidarity that is missing African countries. What is to be made to make them more, to have more generosity? Can I have the answer in French, please?
Well, I think I mentioned it very clearly when we discussed migration, refugees, and internally displaced. Africa has shown a remarkable solidarity in relation to refugees. All African borders, I was High Commissioner for 10 years, all African borders have been open. And I've seen very poor communities receive refugees and give them what was even scarce for the communities themselves. And I believe this generosity, this solidarity needs to be matched. We see that other borders are closed, and we don't see enough support for the African countries hosting refugees to be able to give them the means and the capacity to effectively protect and assist those that have fled because of reasons of conflict in their own countries.
Please,
on the other hand, it is also true that from the migration point of view, there are more African migrants in other African countries than African migrants in Europe.
Okay.
And I believe that it is essential to have a more effective international cooperation between countries of origin, countries of transit, countries of destination, and that was exactly the objective of the compact that was approved in Marrakech.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir, monsieur le secrétaire général. Je suis Awa Abdi de Al Jazeera. Donc, effectivement, quand vous avez parlé de Al Jazeera.
Oui.
Oui. Alors, ma question, monsieur le secrétaire général, concerne sur la question migratoire. On ne peut pas résoudre la question migratoire sans parler des causes, notamment les causes politiques, c'est-à-dire l'absence de la démocratie, de la bonne gouvernance, mais aussi l'absence totale dans des pays africains de droits de l'homme. Donc, est-ce que vous avez parlé de ces questions avec les leaders et les présidents africains et quelles sont les solutions proposées par les Nations Unies pour trouver des solutions et des issues à cette cause? Ma deuxième question concerne la solution de la Libye, la situation de la Libye. Merci beaucoup.
Bon, premièrement, les causes fondamentales des migrations sont économiques. Et elles sont dues aux différences de développement qui existent. Et ces différences de développement ont des explications qui sont très complexes, qui vont des origines. Il faut analyser les conséquences du colonialisme. Il faut voir toute une série de choses qui sont interliées et qui, naturellement, font que beaucoup de pays africains soient dans un niveau de développement beaucoup moins fort que d'autres régions du monde. Mais c'est vrai qu'il y a aussi des problèmes de gouvernance, et c'est vrai qu'il y a aussi des problèmes de droits de l'homme, et ces problèmes sont exactement dans le centre de la coopération entre l'Union africaine et les Nations unies. On a eu d'ailleurs très récemment le premier rencontre formelle des deux organisations sur les droits de l'homme. Et les questions de gouvernance sont aussi des questions centrales. Parce que nous savons qu'il faut augmenter l'investissement en Afrique, mais nous savons qu'une partie de cet investissement, notamment l'investissement privé, exige aussi des conditions de respect des lois, des conditions de gouvernance, de la lutte contre la corruption, pour que les choses puissent aller devant. Alors, il faut travailler dans tous les dossiers. Il faut travailler dans le dossier de la coopération pour le développement, il faut augmenter l'appui, notamment l'appui financier à l'Afrique, mais il faut que l'Afrique fasse son travail, fasse ses réformes, combatte elle-même la corruption et que les droits de l'homme puissent être au centre des préoccupations des Africains.
Sur la question de la Libye, monsieur le secrétaire général, vous
sur
avez
la Libye,
oui, exactement. Quel est le résultat? Est-ce qu'il y a une coordination entre les organisations internationales pour trouver une solution durable à la question de la Libye?
Il y a un dialogue entre les Nations Unies, l'Union africaine, la Ligue arabe, l'Union européenne, mais je crois que maintenant la question centrale, c'est de faire que les Libyens eux-mêmes puissent assumer la direction de la solution des problèmes libyens. C'est pour ça que nous disons que notre objectif fondamental à ce moment, c'est créer les conditions pour qu'une véritable conférence nationale puisse tenir place en Libye et que cette conférence puisse créer les conditions d'une véritable réconciliation nationale et après lancer un processus politique avec les élections, etc., pour faire que la Libye se normalise progressivement.
Jeff Tchemedi de Vox Africa. Monsieur le secrétaire général, je profite de votre présence sur le continent africain. Il y a une réforme qui est très attendue sur le continent africain, celle du Conseil de sécurité, qui pourrait donner une place à l'Afrique, 54 États au Conseil, une injustice que dénoncent certains États africains. Voilà. Pour donner plus de place, pour donner une voix au continent africain. Aussi, je profite, je suis basé au Cameroun. Je voudrais savoir quel est votre point de vue sur la situation des droits de l'homme dans la région du nord-ouest, de l'arrestation de certains opposants et ainsi de suite. Merci.
Bon, premièrement, c'est évident que le Conseil de sécurité a été formé quand le monde était différent. Et notamment, l'Afrique a été une double victime du colonialisme. Premièrement, à cause du colonialisme lui-même. Deuxièmement, parce que les indépendances ont été tellement tardives que beaucoup des institutions internationales étaient déjà largement en fonction quand la plupart des pays africains ont accédé à l'indépendance. Ça veut dire que le poids de l'Afrique, le poids institutionnel de l'Afrique en général dans les institutions internationales ne correspond pas à la réalité africaine d'aujourd'hui. Et ça, c'est particulièrement vrai dans le contexte du Conseil de sécurité. Moi, j'ai toujours dit qu'il n'y aurait pas une réforme complète des Nations Unies sans réforme du Conseil de sécurité, mais nous connaissons aussi les difficultés de cette réforme du Conseil de sécurité. C'est évident que l'Afrique est aujourd'hui sous-représentée face à ce que le continent africain représente lui-même. Nous accompagnons avec beaucoup d'intérêt et préoccupation la situation que vous avez référée. J'ai eu aujourd'hui un dialogue, hier d'ailleurs, un dialogue avec le Premier ministre où on a discuté ces questions et il nous a promis que tout sera fait pour créer des conditions de respect des droits de l'homme et de dialogue pour que la situation puisse se normaliser. C'était le résultat de notre démarche avec le Premier ministre qui était avec nous hier soir. Yeah.
Dr. Guterres, meu nome é Ernesto Bartolomeu, eu sou da televisão de Angola. Eu acho que já falou sobre esta questão do ponto de vista em francês, que tem a ver com a questão dos refugiados. Portanto, fala em solidariedade africana, mas também nós continuamos a testemunhar um grande movimento da África para outros continentes dos refugiados. Como é que as Nações Unidas estão a ver esta questão? Essa é uma das questões que eu gostaria de colocar. E a outra questão tem a ver com a República Democrática do Congo. O que é a União Africana fez um retrocesso relativamente à República Democrática do Congo. Qual é a visão das Nações Unidas?
Bom, em primeiro lugar, aquilo que temos dito sempre em relação aos refugiados é que o direito internacional de refugiados tem que ser respeitado. Verificamos de uma forma positiva que essencialmente ele é respeitado em África, mas infelizmente não é em todo o mundo. E verificamos que a solidariedade com os refugiados tem diminuído, sobretudo no mundo desenvolvido. E o nosso apelo é que se restabeleçam as condições para que o regime internacional de proteção de refugiados definido na Convenção de 51 seja integralmente restabelecido em toda a parte. E que a solidariedade com os países africanos que acolhem um grande número de refugiados seja simultaneamente aumentada e que se faça tudo para resolver os problemas de fundo, ou seja, terminando os conflitos, terminarão os refugiados. Em relação à República Democrática do Congo, eu não penso que tenha havido exatamente aquilo que disse. Acho que, fundamentalmente, em relação à República Democrática do Congo, agora é preciso olhar em frente. E olhar em frente é apoiar as instituições congolesas no sentido de garantir, simultaneamente, condições de estabilidade e de progresso na República Democrática do Congo, mas, ao mesmo tempo, com um diálogo interno e com uma forma inclusiva de conceber a vida política congolesa que permita que o Congo possa ter êxito na solução dos seus problemas e possa melhorar também as condições de vida da sua população.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. My name is Omar Radi, Spanish News Agency.
Sorry?
Omar Radi for Spanish News Agency, FA.
You can ask in Spanish if you want.
No, unfortunately, I can't speak Spanish. So my editors in Nairobi
I will
do
not
the
answer in
Spanish.
I'll answer in Portuñol, but you will be
So
able to
I'll
understand.
take you to the Spanish world, and one of the issues that is dominating the international community these days is that
Sorry?
of one of the issues dominating the international community's discussion is that of Venezuela's. What is the UN's position on the Venezuela's leadership squabble?
We have been saying since the beginning that we consider that the UN and myself, we offer our good offices to both parties at their request for a negotiation, a serious negotiation, able to take the country out of the present standoff.
Yes, that'll be the last one.
My name is Karine Duplessis. I'm a South African journalist, freelance journalist who writes for the Daily Maverick. I have a question. It's about institutional issues. The United Nations as well as the African Union have had problems with sexual harassment issues within the administration and I'm just curious to know from you, what do you think causes this in big organizations like this, and what do you think would be the solution?
Well, sexual harassment is a global problem, and it has to do with the distribution of power in societies. We live in a male-dominated world with a male-dominated culture, and one of the consequences of this imbalance of power relations is sexual harassment. And so we need to address the root causes of sexual harassment, and that is why we are so committed to reach gender parity within the UN, and we believe gender parity will contribute dramatically to reduce this problem. But at the same time, we took very seriously the need to give credibility to our capacity to detect and to punish the situation of sexual harassment. Because what we have detected in our surveys is that many people were not reporting their cases because they felt that that would have no consequences. So we have now created in our investigation structure a special team of 6 women investigators, experts in sexual harassment, and those investigators have terms of reference in their action that will reduce the time framework for the investigations in order to make them more credible and effective. And on the other hand, any case of sexual harassment that in the past in the UN would be reported first to the manager and then through different possible layers, now any case of sexual harassment goes straight into our investigation team. And we believe that with this we are creating a very important deterrence in relation to sexual harassment, and at the same time we are creating the structures that hopefully will allow for the cases that still exist to be effectively detected, for people not to be afraid of reporting them and believing it's worth reporting them, and then for those found guilty to be punished.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. Merci. Shukran. Obrigado. Gracias.